Good morning, everybody. I
Wow,
told you I would sing.
that's a lot of singing. I want to just to say a huge thank you because this is actually your first year helping running Lightning Talks, and you've been a fantastic co-MC. So just a round of applause for all of our volunteers here.
Thank you so much. And also, I thank you for taking care of me because you handle a lot of logistic and stuff, which I found it very confusing because my brain is not working very well. As you can tell, we have not slept a lot during the conference.
Indeed, indeed. So welcome to day 3. So what's on the agenda for today?
Wow, today, so it's kick off with a very amazing session. It's the lightning talk session, but it's a very special session because we will start off with not just your normal lightning talk, but with a community announcement, which you will see how it works. It's like super quick, a lot of conference. Your mind will be blown by the end of it because there's so many events.
Fantastic. And then I also heard that there is there's an if you did apply to do a lightning talk and for some reason it didn't get selected, today at noon there is an open source space. I believe it's called the lightning talks they didn't want you to hear. So you can go check that out, or you could just go and listen to people talk. And trying to think about any other housekeeping items. Oh, what about the sprints?
Yes, so please stay after the keynote today, at the last keynote today, because at 5 p.m. at this room, because for those of you who have never been to the sprint, please come because there will be orientation, tell you what is a sprint, what project you can sprint on. For those of you who have been to the sprint, also come here because then you will know what project you can work on tomorrow.
Fantastic. Well, I think with that, do you want to go ahead and kick it off?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, the first will be community announcements. So our first community speaker is here ready. So they all only got like 30 seconds for each slide. So you have to be really paying attention because they will be quick, okay? So let's start now.
Hi, so my name is Felipe. My mom called me Felipe Python. And we're going to host a conference in Brazil. And a conference focused on black people in IT. And if you want to join, that's the date, 22 of July. And we also are going to having a open space today at 2 p.m. at room 250C for black people at PyCon. And you are welcome to come to Brazil. Bye-bye. Thank you.
And I'm here to talk about Python Brazil as well. Python Brazil is the biggest Python conference in Brazil. We get together all the local communities in Brazil and go to this big PyCon that we have called Python Brazil every year. This year is going to take place in Caxias do Sul, which is kind of like in the south. We're a huge, warm, loving, welcoming community of Python developers, and we would like to invite you all to attend and see it for yourself. We're also looking for sponsors, so if your company is interested, just hit me up and yeah.
Hello, North Bay Python is the San Francisco Bay Area's one-track Python conference. This year we're back after a 3-year break, returning to Petaluma, California, just 35 miles north of San Francisco. It'll be on July the 29th and 30th before the Californian summer gets too harsh. This year, our venue is a barn on a 600-acre ranch. There are cows and horses and friendly venue cats. Our call for proposals is now open and closes on Friday, May the 19th. I'm also here to invite you to the southernmost Python conference in the world, Kiwi PyCon, which is taking place this year in Waihopai in Invercargill in Aotearoa, New Zealand. It's at the far south of New Zealand, but you can make it there with just one connection from San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, or New York, so super convenient. The conference this year is on the 15th to the 17th of September, which is the beginning of spring in the Southern Hemisphere. If you want to take part, the call for proposals is open from today until May the 19th. And if I've convinced you to come along, there is a discount code right there on the slide. So see you in Invercargill.
Hello, I'm Michael. I'm the organizer of the Orlando Python Meetup. There is a vibrant tech scene in Orlando. It's more than just the theme parks. So if you find yourself on vacation and want to give a talk, we are always looking for speakers. We will make a date work for you. We'll create a meeting. And we have a lot of our talks online. You can reach me at py.org watch.pyorl.org, and a lot of our past talks can be found on YouTube at watch.pyorl.org.
Sorry, that's actually PyCon UK, so I'm representing them. So PyCon UK is going back to the beautiful Cardiff City Hall. It's actually like a historical building, so if you have never been to a British historical, like Victorian style building, so this is your chance. And it's in September 22nd, so all the announcements, please check out their website. I don't know when the CFP is open. So next one, also in the UK, is, but this time it's another country technically, because it's in Scotland instead of in Wales. So PyCon UK was, the other one is in Wales. This one, JungleCon, is in Scotland. It's in 29th of May to 2nd of June. It's in Edinburgh. Again, Edinburgh got a lot of beautiful castles. So if you are, if you love beautiful country, beautiful castle, beautiful things to do, and drink a lot of whiskey, then please come to JungleCon. Next one.
Good morning. I would like to invite you to EuroSciPy. This is a European conference for Python and science. It will be in the nice city of Basel in Switzerland. We had this in the same place last year. It's a very, very nice city. It will be August 14 to 18. We do have tutorials, we have talks, and we do have sprints. We also have posters. So the call for proposals is open to the end of the month. So if you would like to, you can still propose a talk, poster, or a tutorial session. See you in Basel.
Good morning. After a brief absence, PyCon Australia is back this year in Tandanya, Adelaide, in the Adelaide Convention Centre on the banks of the Karawari Piri. It is a multi-day conference, a first day of specialist tracks incorporating an education track, JungoCon Australia, all things data and our connected universe. 2 days of regular tracks, including a PyCon fair, and then 2 days of sprints. Our call for papers is open right now until the 14th of May. For more details, pycon.org.au. Thank you.
Sorry. So this is PyGotham. Also, I'm representing them. So it's an online conference, so you don't have to travel. You can see it from their, the domain is pygotham.tv. So they are very like theme. Then it's it's very cool. So it's October 6 to 7, 2023. So also, I think the CFP is open because there's a link there. So check them out. Next one.
So hello, we are Javi and Christian, two of the organizers of this year's PyCon in Spain that takes place in Canary Island. If you are not aware of Tenerife in particular, it's one of the most beautiful islands in the entire Europe. We have beautiful beaches, a lot of nature to see and enjoy.
So yeah, this is a perfect opportunity. As you see there, we will have English talk as well. So like here, we give space for people to speak Spanish. There, we give space to people to speak in English. So if you have any questions, please let us know. That's the website, and the call for paper ends in June 23rd.
All right, I'm here for PyCon Taiwan. So we timed it exactly right. So it's too late for you to do a call to submit a proposal, and it's too early for you to buy a ticket yet. So what I want you to do now is just book this date onto your schedule and just come. And if the only problem stopping you is financial and not the long flights, we do have financial aid programs that you can apply. And we have everything you expect, good food, beer, and occasionally conference talks. And also something that you might not expect, that very exotic souvenirs and like live band performances, things like that. So yeah, welcome to there.
Good morning. My name is Lisa, and I'm one of the organizers for Pyjamas, the laziest conference on earth. It is now in its 4th year, and it's a 24-hour online conference for all ranges of Python users. It is free to attend, but we encourage small donations with all proceeds going to the PSF. We're always looking for more volunteers and organizers, more diversity. So if you're looking for a conference you can watch in your pajamas, go to our website, pyjamas.live. We're also on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and look out for our call for proposals soon. Thank you.
Okay, so this is me again, EuroPython. So this year, EuroPython will be in Prague, a very beautiful city. I really love castles and like churches, so that's why I can tell you I've been there, and the castle and churches there are amazing. A lot of art, and also it's in July, so weather will be nice, 17th to 23rd. Check out the website. And next one is PyCon Uganda. So we have a new PyCon in Africa. So for those of you who may not know, there are actually PyCons in Africa, in different countries. So this is a new one. So if you go there, it will be your first. It could be your first PyCon in Africa, or and it's their first as well. So call for paper is now open. Check out their website. And Pi Bay Area Python Association. So this slide also sent in by the organizers. So these are the amazing, user groups or communities that you can join. So there are a few of them. If you live around that area, please check them out and join the events. Hi, Texas.
Hello, my name is Mason, and I'm the organizer for PyTexas. You just missed PyTexas. It was 3 weeks ago, but we already have next year's dates, so we're good for that. It's April 20th and 21st, 2024. It'll be at the Austin Central Library in Austin, Texas. Our CFP will be opening in Q4 of this year, so keep an eye out for it. And if you want to keep in contact with what's going on, please follow us on all the socials or join our mailing list, and that's how we'll get the information to you. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Rina Katel, the chairperson of PyCon APAC 2023 in Japan. This year, the Japan team is organizing a conference as PyCon APAC. The dates are October 27th to 29th, Tokyo, Japan. Now, call for proposal now open. This will be given in English and in Japanese, of course. I hope that it is about half in Japan, English, and half in Japanese. Our team would like to make this conference more international than last year. Please take this opportunity to visit Asia Pacific and please come to Japan. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ben. I'm the chair, one of the co-chairs of PyCascades, which is a regional conference in the Cascade region. We are back in Seattle in 2024. You may notice a lack of detail on this slide, and you might have questions like, what are the dates? What's the venue? When's the CFP open? And when do ticket sales open? And the answer to all of those questions and more is to be determined, but you can help. We are currently looking for organizers. If you would like to help, you can email us at organizers@pycascades.com. We're on all the socials as PyCascades, and we are on Mastodon at pycascades@fosstodon.org. Thanks.
You shouldn't miss PyCascade. Highly recommend it. But I'm going to tell you about another conference that you shouldn't miss either. It's the PyCon Latam. My name is Andres, she's Denny, and we are part of the PyCon Latam organizers. This year, PyCon Latam is going to Monterey on August 24-26. There's 4 keynotes, 2 conference days, 2 tracks, 1 in Spanish, 1 in English, a whole weekend with other Python enthusiasts. But who's PyCon Latam? Basically, we are the ones bringing PyCon awesomeness to the Latin American communities.
And we have a big surprise for you. We have a super early bird ticket available in this QR code. Please go and enjoy. Thank you.
And that is all the community announcements. Thank you.
Fantastic. So I've been to some of these conferences, and they're really, really amazing. I actually used to run a few years ago lightning talks at PyCascades. So it's a slippery slope. If you love volunteering, you can start at a regional conference and then wind up here one day. So choose your own adventure. But to kick off our lightning talk section now, we're going to go ahead and kick it over to Greg, who's going to be talking to us a little bit about Python and education.
Good morning. That's all right. Good morning. My name is Greg Bustamante, and I'm here to talk about education, and in particular PCBL, which is Personal Competency-Based Learning. I'll explain a little bit more about that. First off, I'm from Kansas City, so clap if you're a Kansas City fan. I knew it, that's everyone. Just a quick background on myself. This is the little dance that I did for about 20 years plus of my career. And then in terms of kind of just a quick personal view, this is some of the roles that I play in life. And then some of my hobbies. And as I look at this, I don't actually live into any of these, so these are more aspirations, but I'm working on it. And what am I doing now? I'm a first-year educator, so I went from industry into education, and I teach at a STEM school that focuses on prepping students for the real world and real-world learning. So this is a sample of them at Summit Technology Academy, where I work with a number of other teachers, and we have 36 of them that came out to this conference, and they're high school juniors and seniors. So if you see anyone wearing the sort of STA polo, please introduce yourself. So my big sort of, when all you have is a hammer, everything's a nail moment, is that courses are just projects in my mind when I take a look at them. So as a first-year teacher, I just mapped everything from what I was doing to education. So when I see objectives and learnings, I just think of tickets and requirements that go through a workflow, and especially one in, say, like a Kanban type board and visualization, and they're sized and estimated, and you can work them in different priorities. I see sprints, 2-week sprints and iterations and percent completes and deliverability of items, otherwise called units in education. But they kind of map into the same sort of concepts for projects for me, milestones. And then the idea of visualizing how much is done, how much is left, and just being able to see what's in the backlog and to prioritize backlogs. So conveniently, all of these things were in GitHub, and GitHub also conveniently is in the list of approved items that we can use as educators. So why first PCBL? I said personal competency-based learning, and it's a little bit more of a forward-thinking view into education, so it's non-traditional, but big surprise, it's personalized. And what that means is that it's individual to the student, and they can sort of self-pace and grapple with the material in the way that's meaningful to them and also aligned to their identity. And then the focus of it is more on competency, not on grades, and about sort of assessing that. So in my classes, I have students that are really experienced and students that are brand new, and to force them through kind of a sequenced curriculum at the same pace just doesn't make sense. And then why GitHub? Well, because so many people use it. Everything I've seen here, it's just everyone's sharing GitHub, so why shouldn't students work in GitHub? And the other nice thing is that with GitHub projects, I can orchestrate the classroom as well as code and tie those things together to produce evidence of learning and competency. And then students get to invest in their own portfolio, their own repos, and then also build activity that they can showcase to employers in the future. And why Python? I just learned Python probably in the last 3-4 months. So I'm brand new to it. I'm mostly .NET and Java and PHP based. But I've loved it so far. I love it so much that it basically is my go-to now for programming. It's expressive, and it has a lot of the libraries that were necessary to build this, and it's loved universally by students and teachers. So it's working for me right now. And then why Google Sheets? As I moved from developer to manager, my IDE became Excel. And I know that's not cool, but it actually is super powerful, really helpful and easy for filtering data, for being able to kind of write formulas. And it's my database, and for this prototype, it worked really, really well. So this is just like one type of view where I can actually go and look and filter by students. And you can see down at the bottom, there's courses, course sprints, course units, course objectives, and those are all sort of just the database tables of sorts that end up being recreated and modeled into GitHub. And I can go in and check things as assessed, and it moves tickets to done, closes tickets, and so on. So there's a number of libraries: Google API, Python library, PyGitHub for the REST API of Git, and then the GraphQL for GitHub is critical too. So then we get these beautiful sort of aggregate views of student performance, and as you can see, along these lines, students are underperforming, but that's just because we just launched it. And again, this is our group, 36 students. Say hello. Thank you.
It's a very long runway. Sorry about that. I'm sprinting now. So, talk about sprints. Remember to stay for the sprint orientation today. So our next talk, we'll have Adam, who is the first time attending PyCon, and he's now giving a lightning talk. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Hello. My name is Adam Silke. I'm an empathetic leader and technologist. First time PyCon, and I've got a lovely new tie thanks to PyLadies, so yay PyLadies. This is a photo of me winning an ugly sweater contest. And yes, I know what some of you are thinking. That's not a sweater. Don't worry. The year after that, they explicitly called out only sweaters. You know, explicit is better than implicit. Anyway, this is leadership and the Zen of Python. If there's a thesis to my 5 minutes up here, it's this: be present and lead with empathy. It's that wonderful quote by Maya Angelou: people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. I, like many others, was recently caught up in the ongoing layoffs that are affecting our industry. And a senior leader who I rarely interacted with reached out and said, hey, checking in, I'd like to set up some time to talk. And I said, yeah, that'd be great. 4 weeks later, I walked out of the workplace on my last day, never having had that conversation. People will never forget how you made them feel. More than ever, we need leadership in our industry. And I truly believe that Pythonistas make for perfect leaders. After all, we have the Zen of Python. Beautiful is better than ugly, explicit is better than implicit, simple is better than complex, complex is better than complicated, and so on. But the problem with humans is that we're complicated, and our thoughts are implicit, and our emotions are messy and sometimes even ugly. So what can you do as a leader? Be present and lead with empathy. Beautiful is better than ugly, but messy happens, so learn to love it. Dig into the messiness of people, and I promise you'll discover beauty there that you never expected to find, and it will make all your relationships better. Explicit is better than implicit, but people are 90% implicit at least. It's that old conversation, hey, how are you doing? Fine. They're not fine. So your goal as a leader is to learn to read the implicit, to listen and lead with empathy, and give your people the space to be explicit with what they want and how they feel and who they are. Because explicit is better than implicit. And people may be complicated, yes, but as Ned so eloquently pointed out on Friday, so are you. Understanding starts with you. There was this one time that one of my employees gave me a call, and he said, hey man, I need to take the day. And I could tell immediately that there was something wrong. And what's more, I remember being in his spot before where managers interrogating me saying, well, what's going on? And I didn't want to be that person. So I said, you got it, man. You take care of you. Take as much time as you need, and I'll take care of everything. He told me 2 days later that the reason he needed time was because his dog had suddenly gotten ill and passed away. And the day that I found out that I had been let go, he gave me a call and said, man, the reason I've stayed all these years is because of you. People will never forget how you made them feel. Let me give you one more story. It was the middle of a major production issue, not my fault, but I was responsible for helping to fix it. And I'd been on site for 20 hours, and one of my leaders, the one who actually introduced Python to me, had been there the whole time. And he was doing the typical leader thing, not a whole lot except reading emails and going to meetings and having really important phone calls. And I told him, hey man, you've been here a long time, just go home. And I will never forget what he said. You're here, so I'm here. So be there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adam. Speaking of the PyLadies auction, I think we raised over $36,000. Amazing, right? So there was things like ties. People decided collectively to bid on pens, just like random pens we had. There was Python Fine China for a set of 6, and DevProof, which was a loan kit. There was a lot of really cool stuff. So if you haven't been to the PyLadies auction in the past, please, please, please consider it if you're going to be coming in the future to PyCon US. It's a really good time. But anyways, our next Lightning Talk speaker, Mariano, is going to be talking about some work that I'm really excited about. I've been reading about what this community has been up to for a while. So why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Okay, welcome. I'm Mariano from Python Argentina. and I will be talking about some projects that we have there. The first one is a course to teach Python to all kind of students from high school to adults, and it's a remake of our original course of Brazil. This course was just videos and exercises that you have to download and run in your local computer. And what we do is to create an online course using Runstone. That is a Python platform where teachers can author their work and their lessons. So this run completely in the browser. You don't have to install Python. You can run in a tablet, in a cell phone, even offline with no internet connection or with high latency. And also this has zero cost for hosting because you don't need a server to run the exercises. Here is the online version if you want to try. You have simple exercises to start Hello World programs, and also some quizzes, that have unit tests, so you will give immediate feedback if your exercise is correct or you need to fix it. And you have visualization of the program step by step. This is for students that want to learn how the program is run. You have more traditional activities. And what we do is also adding a new interpreter that is called Brighton, that is Python in JavaScript. And this supports a lot of features. We work in, for example, SQLite wrapper to run databases and Pygame, so you can run games directly in the browser. This is an example of the queries you can do with the SQLite, and it's regular Python. And also you can do web UI with button dialogues, so the student can have a vision of everything. And this is the last challenge, that's writing a game with Pygame. So the student also can try to practice and, edit the game and just press run, and this will run in the browser without installation. And the only difference with a traditional Pygame is this line that we need to do for JavaScript, that you cannot block the browser and so on. But anyway, we have another project in Argentina. This is a web services for the government library. And all of these projects participated in the Google Summer of Code. That is a grant program of Google that pays a student a stipend to work in open source projects. So if anyone of you are interested to start to collaborate and learn how open source is developed and so on, you can try to join and make a proposal. We are working under the Python Software Foundation umbrella. Here's the link. And you can also join to our Telegram group for this that has the information. We do the announcements and news. And these are some students. I was a student of the Google Summer of Code program a lot of years ago. Then we have Nicolas, that also was a student and now is a mentor and active collaborator of our community. And we have a lot of students from Argentina and other countries. And here are the links. If you want to talk about this, I will be on the sprint the next day, so you can learn. We need beta tester and so on. So thank you for your time.
Why is it so far away? Okay, thank you so much for the talk about the game, right? I think, sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I haven't slept enough. Okay, so the next talk is Ali. Ali will be presenting about, it's a, I can't read that. Can you explain, please? Thank you, the stage is yours.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, my name is Alistair, aka Ali, and I just want to talk about something cool that I've been doing the last few days. I think it's cool at least. Started on Friday morning when I was trying to think of topics for a lightning talk and saw this logo pop up on a slide. It was kind of, it had this nice kind of mirror symmetry to it. I was thinking, oh, could you write some Python code that had the same mirror image symmetry? And I realized I'm talking about palindromes. So can you write Python code that is a palindrome? Yeah, it's very difficult to search for this, so I have no idea if anyone's done it before. It just spits out Python palindrome checker algorithms. So by Friday afternoon, I gave up on that and decided I'm just going to try and do it myself. So I'm going to show you what I came up with. Yeah, my second example is a bit more interesting than that. Slightly more interesting. Yeah, this one still doesn't do anything, but it at least illustrates the point that, for our case, palindromes are going to be ignoring white space. Otherwise, it's really difficult. So what about a program that actually does something? Can this be made palindromic? Yeah, of course. And obviously, this one's cheating a bit, so I'm going to say we're also going to ignore comments. Well done if you noticed, that is actually not a palindrome, because the brackets don't match. We're matching an open bracket with a closed bracket, and just because they're mirror images doesn't mean it's a palindrome. So we need to flip those around. Now it's a palindrome, but also exposes a problem with brackets we're going to have going forward. If we have code that has any brackets in it at all, the first one's going to be an open bracket, which means the last one also has to be an open bracket, and that's not going to fly. So bye-bye brackets, I guess. So let's take it all the way back. The simplest sort of operations we can think of, variable assignment. Can we do them? This is problematic because when we flip it around, we're going to end up with something like this on the other end, and we can't have an integer on the left side of the assignment. Same with strings and that sort of thing. But complex numbers to the rescue. 1j is square root of -1. j1 is just a variable name that happens to equal square root of -1 here. Yeah, we can do lambdas. They don't need brackets. But unfortunately, if you try and do anything useful or interesting with them at all, you run into cases where you need to use brackets, and it kind of falls apart. So maybe class declarations work. We can put in some type hints. That's fine. But all of these are, parts of ideas and not really coming together into something useful as a code. So I cleared my head on Saturday morning in the mountains with these wonderful people and came back and wrote that thing. So ignore the actual function declaration at the top, the line at the top, but the rest of it from line 2 onwards is a palindrome. And it's fine if it's not clear what it does at first, but those are the actually useful bits. The rest is just sort of filling to make it palindromic. And just show you quickly what it outputs if you print the first couple of things from the generator. Technically Fibonacci. Admittedly, the output's formatted a bit unusually. I could clean up and get rid of those 0j complex number bits, but I stopped there. I had my sights on something bigger. Can I write a palindromic palindrome checker? And even without making it a palindrome, trying to do this without using brackets to index into a string or a reversed function is kind of tricky. It's not obvious at first how you would do it. But you can. And once again, I'll highlight the kind of the actual useful bit of that for you. feel free to have a look. I've got stuff on GitHub afterwards. And I think I've created something that's even harder to search than what I initially had, which was quite nice. The next stage is creating a palindromic Turing machine implementation in Python. So if you want to help me with that, please get in touch.
Okay, I'll admit when I was looking at some of that, I'm like, I know it's early, but what am I looking at? So fantastic, fantastic talk. Thank you so much for that. Our next lightning talk speaker is JR, and they're going to go ahead and take it away.
Thank you very much, and good morning, PyCon US. So I'm J.R. Rickerson. I've been doing Python for a while, and for around the last 10 years or so, I've also been teaching Python in various capacities, like professionally and as a volunteer sometimes. And teaching Python has taught me a lot about Python, right? You actually learn quite a bit when you're teaching. I don't have any slides, thank you. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I've learned and what I've learned about learning. So I don't have any slides for you. I don't have any live code. I just have ideas. So we'll talk about a few of those, and hopefully I can provide some perspective on things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about playing games. That is something that hopefully you have done before, right? Who here has never been a child, right? Probably nobody. And who here has never played any sort of a game, right? Pretend, sports games, board games, whatever. It's a universal kind of thing. Everybody plays games. And it's, one of the few things we can kind of all agree on. It doesn't matter where you come from, your financial situation, kids play games, right? And we play games for a reason. One of those reasons is to learn things, to mimic adults that we see, and try to figure out how to be bigger humans, essentially. So, why do children play games? Well, it's kind of wired into our brains, I think, right? It's one of those things that you just don't have to be really taught. Even babies start playing games to learn how to physically move around, right? How to control their arms and legs and so forth. And then as we go on, we learn things like rules, we learn things like social interactions, and we learn how to control our emotions, right? Winning is joyous sometimes, losing is maybe not so much joyous in a game. So we learn to kind of deal with that sort of thing. And it's an effective form of learning for us because it is tied into emotions, right? We remember things that have strong emotions associated with them. We remember the good times, we remember the especially bad times, and so games can kind of provide that for us. Playing can kind of provide that for us, and they're just fun, right? There's some motivation there. If we enjoy a game, if we have goals and rewards, short cycles of things, it's fun and it keeps us motivated to keep doing that same thing. Excuse me. So as we get to be adults, I think we start to forget how to play, right? We become a little more inflexible in our learning, in the way we do things. We don't have time to play, right? The 12 hours a day I used to play NES or something has turned into 30 minutes once a month, something like that. And so we just kind of forget. We fall out of that pattern. And we turn to, serious business. So what I'm here to say is, during my teaching of Python, I've tried to encourage that playing, right? I've tried to use games as a way to learn, right? Even something as simple for someone who's never programmed before, something as simple as guessing the number game, right? Pick a number between 0 and 100 and guess what it is. Everybody can kind of understand that right off the bat, and you can use that to teach coding concepts, right? You can teach conditionals, you can teach rules, you can teach types, and that sort of thing. And then you can kind of expand on that idea. So I've tried to encourage that in my students, and I think it's been a pretty effective way to learn, that we kind of naturally have built into us, but we tend to forget as we get older. So, this is a Python conference, obviously. What should you do with this information, right? Well, you probably came here with maybe a goal to learn something or meet someone. Maybe you learned something new while you've been here that you're now interested in learning. So instead of resorting to serious business and going and digging into it, go find a way to play with it, right? And go find people to play with it, right? So enjoy.
Okay, this time I start running earlier, but I'm still a bit late. I should start earlier. Okay, so thank you for the talk. And the next talk is actually something that I think is, well, it's fun at the beginning, and then it's very frustrating. It's about web scraping. So thank you, and please take us away.
Alrighty. Hey everyone, my name is Lubo, and I'd like to tell you about my first web scraping project, my web scraping woe and the workaround that I found. The goal of my project was to scrape information from a website after being logged in. This was a website that I cared about. I wanted to keep my account, so I wanted to play it as safe as possible. The tool that I ended up choosing was PyAutoGUI, a Python module by Al Swigert. It allows us to control the mouse and keyboard programmatically. And so we can, with Python, move the mouse, click the keyboard, and interact with the browser just like a real user. This is a demo of the workflow that I came up with. I'm combining PyAutoGUI with Beautiful Soup, another Python package. Browser. We're importing our packages, Alt-tabbing over so that the browser is in focus. We click Control-S as a hotkey so we can save the file locally. Here we're interacting with the operating system GUI. We open up the file, pass it into Beautiful Soup, which parses our HTML, and then we can extract whatever we want from that local copy of the web. Great for most of the pages that I came across, until I came across this one. At first, it doesn't look too bad. We have a table. Some of the rows are always visible, and clicking on the visible row toggles the visibility of the row beneath it. The problem becomes apparent when we look at the HTML, though. Here we're looking at the first question and answer pair. Favorite color is present, but this is on when the page is first loaded. The answer isn't present. It's only after we click it that the answer gets populated, and then it stays in the web page after that. So the workflow that I showed earlier does not work. If we save the web page locally, the information I want is not going to be there. What made this more challenging as well is that this table is part of a larger web page. I didn't want all of the rows. I didn't know how many rows there would be when I first loaded it anyway. And those were all things that made this tricky. But here's the workaround that I came up with. The first step is to use our existing method to download the page and extract the text from the links. Since I don't want all of the rows, this allows me to know, from the link text, I can tell which rows I want and which I don't. The next step is to take a screenshot of the table. This is using another Python package, MSS, or multiple screenshot. I need that screenshot so that I can pass it into an optical character recognition package, EasyOCR. This takes that image and tries to identify each word. It tells us what it thinks the string is, how confident it is from 0 to 1, and crucially, where it is in the image. So it gives us coordinates of the bounding box. Here it's per word, but I wanted per row, so we can join up those bounding boxes. And now we have the text that the OCR package thinks is in the links. Notice it's mostly the same, except the question marks are now the number 2. Now, in the example that I gave, the OCR text is pretty close. The font is quite large. There aren't a ton of special characters, but sometimes the output of the OCR is less than ideal. So I need a way to match the rows that I want from step 1 with the bounding boxes from step 3. And for this, I used another Python package called the fuzz. It implements Levenshtein string distance, which sounds fancy, but it's one metric of many to compute, give a number to, how similar or dissimilar two strings are from each other. And I'd like to show you an example. So here, we're comparing the stuff from step 1 through step 3, favorite color versus the OCR'd version, and we get a score of 93 out of 100. Okay, if we compare it against the other one, against favorite food, we get a lower score, 76. If we compare it against nonsense, we get 17. And I'll note that you have to be empirical about this. There's no one number. So In my case, I had to play around with the strings a little bit and find a number that allowed me to separate matches from not matches. And once we've done that, we can match the stuff extracted from steps 1 and 3, take those bounding boxes, compute the center, click each of those, and from there our normal method works beautifully. We save the web page locally and pass it into Beautiful Soup. Big thanks to all the people who maintain these packages. It would not have been possible without them. And thank you for your time.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that talk. And our final lightning talk of PyCon 2023 will be telling us a little bit about simplifying pandas. Take it away.
All right. Hi, my name is Hao San. Very happy to be here. If you see me in the hallway, please say hi. So today I'll be talking about simplifying pandas. This is for all your data science people out there and anybody who's trying to learn getting into data science, data analysis. What I like to call this is data agnostic data analysis. So the question is why? Because life could be so much easier. So I'm going to present to you an idea that's going to change your life and how you view data analysis. Once you see this, you can never unsee it, like one of those memes. But right now, there's no open source code that you can play with. But you can dream about it at night or at work when you're crunching away at data analysis. So what does it mean by data agnostic? So basically, I want to separate the logic from the data. Basically, when the logic is not changing, when the data changes. So what is logic? What is data? It depends. It's a little bit subjective. Something that changes could be considered data if it's across different iterations of your building your feature, different features, different projects, different teams, or even different data storage medium. So this is a little prelude to later. And it's a little bit subjective. But with the next two examples, I hope you'll get a better idea. So consider the following scenario. You want to get into stock trading, and you want to calculate the 7-day average price for a stock, stock A. Okay, so looks innocuous enough. You jump into Pandas and start calculating this. But let's go back a step. So can we separate this into data and logic, right? So here the data is highlighted in blue, and logic is highlighted in green. So really, the only logic you have is average. Everything else is pretty much data that can change. For example, you might not want a 7-day average. You might want a 1-month average. Maybe you don't want an average price. You want an average volume. Or you don't want to calculate for stock A. You want to calculate for stock B. Or you want to do all of that at the same time. Imagine how many times you have to change your code if you go through that iteratively, right? And then in the second example, it's a little bit more complex example. So here, you want to calculate the max average min of the length of streaks of zeros in a column of ones and zeros. I know it's a mouthful, but actually this is a very good interview questions for all your recruiters out there, especially for PySpark, because both Stack Overflow and ChatGPT doesn't give, well, it gives a workable answer, but it's very complex even to understand. But after seeing this talk, you'll be able to know what are the 3 or 4 steps that you need to calculate this. And anybody who doesn't know that, meaning they haven't seen this talk, don't hire them. So yeah, it could be streaks of zeros or streaks of ones. So right now here, the 0 and 1, I consider them to be logic, as you will see in a bit. But just to illustrate how easy you can extend this. So the goal I want is the separation of data and logic. And also I want the logic to be modular and reusable so I can plug and play them into different pipelines to build more complex logic. And I want to distill the essence of a desired subset of pandas. I don't want to recreate all of pandas. I'm not Brett. So, but if there's need, then people can build it, right? So here is an example of what you can do for the first scenario I showed. So you calculate the 7-day sum average of stock A's price. So you can see the top part is the logic, and the bottom part is the data. So they're pretty much separate, right? And then you might think, okay, this doesn't look like pandas. These are just JSON configs, right? Yeah, I know it's a little bit prerogative. But if you can write JSON configs and have the backend work out the Panda logic, why not, right? And then if I just want to change this to a 7-day, 1-month sum average of stock A and B's price and volume, if you look closely, I'm going to do it again, okay? You just change the data part. You just add three strings. And then you don't need to change any of the logic part. So this is what I mean by separation of logic and data. So this basically distills everything that you need to do this computation. So pandas is basically an implementation, maybe an implementation detail that you don't need to know. And then for the second example here, the more complex thing about calculating the streaks. So you can see these are the 4 steps. So yep. And this last quote, best code is no code at all. Thank you.
You really do have like a full ramp you have to sprint up on that side.
Yeah, I feel like I already did the sprint, so I already one day ahead of everybody.
So we're just going to close up with a few reminders about some events and activities and things to pay attention to as the lightning talks now are officially over. So first things first. Oh, but all the lightning talk is officially over. But if you kind of not get selected, or now you just come up with a new lightning talk, you can go to the open space. There's a unofficial lightning talk there. Correct, which is, again, so lovingly titled Lightning Talks They Didn't Want You to Hear. It's at 12 p.m. in room 250 AB. And we will not take that title too personally.
So another thing about the sprint is that today at 5 p.m. back here, we'll have a sprint orientation. So for the first timer who don't know, oh, what is a sprint, but you have a few days, you're still around the city, then please come to the orientation and see what you can do in the sprints. So for people who are not the first timer and then you already plan to stay for the sprint, please also come and to see what project you can sprint on Monday.
Fantastic. And as one last reminder, if you did not buy your conference t-shirt at 11 a.m., if you're here at 11 p.m., that's confusing. 11 a.m., there's t-shirt sales, suggested donation of $20. One other thing I did want to plug, if you were interested in the Python Software Foundation, specifically, we have an election coming up for directors. I'm a previous chairperson and director. I would be super happy to answer your questions, as well as many other people that are at the PSF booth, our staff, volunteers. They can help answer any questions you may have if you're a little bit interested in that. But I think that's about all of our announcements. So we're going to go ahead and conclude. This is the end of Lightning Talks for 2023. Thank you so much, PyCon. You all have been amazing.
All right. The irony is that took longer than my talk is going to take. My name is Tom Calloway. Everybody calls me Spot. I'm an open source evangelist / strategist at AWS. I am here today to talk a little bit about PyPy. If I can get this thing to work, go for it. Okay. So PyPy and AWS have been partners since 2018 when PyPy was fully rewritten in order to scale a little bit better. Part of that work was to overhaul the backend and rewrite PyPy to run on top of AWS. Today, PyPy has been able to scale and meet the growing needs of the Python ecosystem. Many kudos to E and the infrastructure team who support PyPy, along with all of the volunteers and release managers for Python. Currently, PyPy is averaging 425 requests per second to the backends on AWS for a total of 257 million requests per week. Y'all are hitting that thing a lot. At Amazon, one of our principles is that success and scale bring broad responsibility. And as part of our commitment to this principle, we're investing in open source projects that are critical to our customers, our builders, and the rest of the world. We're proud to provide AWS credits to cover all of the AWS costs for PyPy, which is something that we've done for 5 years now. Python is a critical component for AWS and its customers, and we recognize the responsibility that we have to give back to the open source communities that we rely on. Today, there's a new challenge for PyPI and open source. Supply chain security is an industry-wide issue. So I'm not trying to sort of say, well, this is the only place that's having this problem, but PyPI is facing threats like typo squatting, malware, dependency confusion, support ticket backlogs. AWS in particular has been a very notable target of a lot of these things. And right now we have one volunteer, Dustin Ingram. I don't know if they're here, but if they are, my hat is seriously off to you, for taking down 88% of the malware on PyPI alone. That's fantastic, but it really doesn't scale very well. And so we're proud today to announce that we are becoming the first official security sponsor of the Python Software Foundation. We're increasing our commitment to securing critical open source software and providing additional funding which will allow the PSF to hire a full-time safety and security engineer to work on PyPI. I'm going to briefly deviate from my notes here to say that when they asked if I would give this talk, the one condition I had was that it had to have a really sweet cartoon snake to go with it, and this is what I got. Obviously, the Python Package Index is critical to countless companies and other users, and we feel strongly that this new position will help alleviate the bottleneck of support issues, remove malware faster, and keep PyPI secure for the benefit of all of its users. Basically, we want to help put armor on Python so that developers and users can continue to feel safe using PyPI. So we set out some goals together with the PSF for this new role. Things like creating a standardized way to report malware to PyPI via API, not via human ticket, streamlining the malware review process, lowering the average PyPI response time for malware takedown from the 7 days where it's at currently to 3 days after report, developing a security plan with improvement milestones, enabling proper security audit of all new PyPI features before they launch, decreasing the average time for all of the security support requests, and most importantly, freeing up the PyPI maintainers to focus on adding new features without feeling like they're having to sacrifice the security concerns. Thank you all so much for everything that you do for the Python community. We're proud to be able to support you.
I need those pictures. I want to make stickers today. Done. All right. Thank you, Spot. So that job is live right now at jobs.python.org, and you can come work with me and the others at the PSF. I am E. I'm the Director of Infrastructure at the Python Software Foundation, and I'm very... I'm very glad you're here, whether you're in this room or online, and that's just from my heart. 5 years ago today, approximately, at PyCon, we were celebrating PyPI relaunching as Warehouse on AWS as a full new rewrite. And one of the things that we were most excited about in this was not just the maintainability of the code, but the ability to deliver new things more easily and more safely. We've done a lot of that. Focus has primarily been around security, and it will continue to be with the ever-growing threats. But in addition to that, we've also delivered features that are just usability or purposeful. So today, we're rolling out a step that goes beyond just a feature and works towards the sustainability and financial support of PyPI, while also giving our users one of the most requested features, organizations. So I'm not going to sort of make this sound like it's more than it is. The truth of it all is that organizations are just ways to organize your projects, organize your teams, and organize your permissions. It's a first step in what we hope will be a long road of features that basically provide, a lot of good value out of PyPI for not just us as a community, but for corporate users as well. So we're making organizations available for community projects for free forever. And I just want that to be clear. We're never going to be in the business of doing things just to extract money from the people who need it to do their work in the open. And for corporate projects, these features will be available at a small fee. In the last year, PyPI served 235 billion downloads for the 550,000 projects that are hosted there. This means that since the previous period, we saw 57% annual growth. And I was a little shocked because I was just sort of updating some canned notes and noticed that it was 57% before. If you've learned anything about the way that curves grow recently, you'll know that if you have the same growth rate period over period, it's exponential growth. So having more people using and contributing to Python every year is a fantastic problem to have. But it's one that we have to increase organizational capacity through sponsorships like AWS and I'm blanking, I should add that in the notes, other sponsors as well, who help pay to put employees onto projects. And so by charging for these organization features for corporate uses, it increases the ability for PyPI to become a staff platform that can respond to all manner of support requests, not just security, in a timely fashion for everyone. So again, we want to be very clear that these new features are completely optional and completely free if you're a community project. If features that are required for larger teams and larger projects don't sound appetizing to you, don't worry. You don't have to use these things. But it may be something that could be useful for larger teams and larger projects. There's no obligation to create an organization, and absolutely nothing about PyPI, nothing about using PyPI will change for the if you don't opt in. And this is only the basis for future work. We look forward to discussing what other features PyPI users would like to see tackled next. We know there are a lot of ideas out there around safety, security, and usability, and we're looking forward to having a way to connect directly with people who we know are using the features, which currently is difficult, versus coming through an organization we know who to talk to. And in the spirit of open source, we always want to welcome that feedback at github/pypi/warehouse. So these are available today, maybe even right now. I don't know, probably. So we're flipping a feature flag. It's going to be instantaneous, and what's that? Cool, so they're there now. Both community projects as well as corporate teams can sign up today to request their name. We're going to be validating and verifying these, so it may take some time before your organization is brought online. For community projects, that may start happening over the next week or two. For corporate teams, we'll be finalizing the legal and accounting things necessary, and you can expect to see some of those details in May. The most important part, for me anyway, about this is the shout-outs and thank yous. Organization feature development was approved by the Packaging Working Group and funded through the Python Software Foundation sponsorship program. Thanks to our sponsors for making this work possible. We especially want to thank Bloomberg for funding our packaging project manager, Shamika Mohanan, who oversaw this work. And as always, a shout out to the companies that donate services in kind to run PyPI. We're also grateful for the many PyPI users who shared their perspectives with Shamika during user studies and laid the foundation for these new features. And lastly, I want to thank our beta testers, including the brand new organizations on PyPI, the Python Cryptographic Authority, the Palettes Project, and Certify. That's all I got.
All right. Well, yes, thank you so much, Eve, for those updates. It's amazing news. And right now we have the job fair and the posters are happening. There will be talks after the lunch break. So go ahead.